Welcome to another episode of Until It's Done, a devoted podcast. I'm your host, Dana Lynn Kay. Welcome back. I think this is like episode 7 or 8 or something like that. And it's a good one, guys. It's a really, really good one. Right now, while I'm recording this, it is, I think it's like this, what is it, the first week of September. School is back in session for us down here in South Florida. And when I say my life has picked up to like this speed, I had my 3 kids went away to sleepaway camp for the first time this summer. And it really didn't slow down my life. Life was really, really still busy and crazy. But once they came back, we had like a week to prepare for school. And then it was just, we just hit the ground running, and it's been wild. And this all ties into today's episode because I have my mother, Mickey, as you guys have met Mickey before. She's amazing. And she wasn't even planned to be on this podcast, but when I told her the topic, she was like, okay, I'm there. I'm coming in on this one. And I have Sivan Dannon with us. Now, she's an energy healer. And Sivan and I just met a couple weeks ago. I'm going to tell you how this happened and then why I was so I was like, okay, we have to have a podcast episode with you. Like, let's not even keep just having a private conversation with us. Let's like bring the rest of the world into this because it was just such a great conversation. So a couple weeks ago, I went to a workout class. I go to this weightlifting class and I love it. And it's so Dana, and the music is pumping, and and we are lifting weights and we are building muscle, and that's what it's about. And I am, that is just a no-brainer for me. And so a girlfriend was at the class as well with me. And after class, I was like, oh, that felt great, but I got to go home in my life. And it was like, we're all kind of comparing notes on how crazy our school year is already going with the kids and work. And on my way home, I looked down and she sends me a text message, and it was an invite to this sound healing bowl class. I was like, what on earth is she sending me? But I read it quickly and I was like, and it said, and I texted her back and I was like, do I have to do anything? Like this is, and all I saw was like healing and the music. And I was like, okay, do I have to do anything? Is this like a workout class? And she was like, no, you just come, you just lay there. And I was like, I'm in. So I registered for the class, not knowing what I was going to be walking into. And I was actually, when I registered, it was almost like a sense of relief because I was like, okay, like I need this. I need the opposite of what I do, which is my cardio, my music, my weight training, all my stuff. I was like, I don't know what this is going to be about, but I'm going to go and I'm just going to do it. And a lot of people, I'm always preaching like embrace change and try new things. So like I'm practicing what I'm preaching, and I signed up for this class, and I think it was like maybe 2 Saturdays ago. Brought my yoga mat and an open mind, and I went and I walked in and I saw it was Sivan, and it was your setup, and there were bowls and instruments, and it was like all very interesting. And I set up as close as I could with my mat, and then you started to explain what we were about to experience. So tell me a little bit about yourself, and also what was I experiencing in that class? What was that?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. It's very exciting to be here and talking about the topic we're about to dive into. Whenever you're working with energy healing, people might experience some processing symptoms during and even after. So it's important to prep people so they know that they're not the oddball. They're not so different if things are going to come up for them, or if they feel a certain way, or their body moves a certain way. So I try to really prep people to say, okay, you're about to have some energy work done at a cellular level, in a sense, because we're working with frequencies. In this particular modality, we're working with sounds. So each frequency from each instrument affects a different part of your body, different chakras, and the whole purpose of energy healing is to create harmony and balance and alignment within yourself. So what happens is that our subconscious gets in the way, and we'll throw distractions, things that you need to do, laundry or payroll, as you mentioned, and you got a whole to-do list today and you're laying on a mat for an hour. Should I go to the bathroom? Should I not? My neck hurts, my back hurts. All these different things are going to come thrown your way. And so it's normal to have thoughts. So I wanted to prep you and the rest of the group to say it's okay to have thoughts, but just let them know that you're going to acknowledge it now
Right.
and deal with them later. So think of as each thought coming in as a train. And remember, we spoke about that. You're like, yeah, I remember what you said about letting it be like a train. Like you see that thought and be like, okay, I'm going to let it pass by and I'll deal with it later. So that you know that like it's okay to feel what you're feeling, like, okay, just relax and to be present. And the other thing is too, is even getting into that meditation that we worked with being present, and we worked with all the senses, feeling where you were. What are you hearing with your right ear? What are you hearing with your left ear? Do you hear something nearby, far? Really zoning in on the present moment. Because when we come back to ourselves, then we're really able to do the work because we're distracted by life. It is what it is.
Well, here, so if we back it up, so basically what happened was we all laid on our mats and I put my head, towards the instruments, and my whole job during this class now was just to lay down and relax. And I put the towel over my head and I was just like, okay, let's just see like what happens. Because when you're saying all of that, it all sounds great. And I'm like, yes, and just let the thoughts come in and out. And I'm just like, and stay present and all the words and like all the stuff. And I'm a very like, not for nothing, but I'm like, cut the crap. Like, what am I supposed to get out of this? Like, am I going to be healed? Like, am I supposed to feel good? Like, it's like, because I'm a very just tell me, all those like words about like being like present and staying in the moment and all these things. It's like, I am such a like cut and dry woman where it's just like, I just need to know like what to expect and am I going to feel this and what, so I was very open-minded and I was like taking it very serious and I was and then you had said like, let the thoughts come in and out of your head. And then I'm not even joking. I'm like, the thoughts are coming in and then like, I'm trying to like push them out. Like, I'm like picturing them like, okay. And like, think of the next thing. And then you kept saying like, and you were helping with saying things like, what are the smells in the room? So like, I'm like, and I start to like try to focus on the smells, which absolutely helped because like now I'm thinking of like what the smells in the room or the sounds or the taste of my, you said, well, what does your own mouth taste like? What do you, and yeah. And then I'm all of a sudden, I'm not thinking about, you got me to stop thinking about the laundry at home, my kids, like my work, all the stuff I have to do today. And I started to like really just, okay, Dana, focus on those things. But then I realized I was working so hard to focus on not focusing. And then I'm wondering, am I missing the music part? Like, then the music is happening. And then I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to be, and then what should I be feeling with the vibration of the music? And it's like, it was wild. Now at the end of class,
sounds like work,
right? All of a sudden, and I'm like, I'm here to relax, and yet now I'm actually like, a word that so many women use is like, I'm overthinking. I overthink. Am I overthinking? Like, should I just be laying here? And then I was scared to fall asleep if I got too relaxed because the woman next to me is snoring, and I was like, oh my God, like. Wait, she's missing the class. Like she's actually, she fell asleep. And then I'm like, but she got so relaxed that she was able to fall asleep. And then I was like jealous of her. Then I'm like, oh my gosh, she just disconnected and I would love to relax. So the whole thing was like wild. And at the end of class, we all sat up and you had asked at the beginning of the class, who's new here? And I raised my hand. I was like, I've never done anything like this. And then one woman was new. And she like had this whole thing. And she's like, I felt my body just heavy and I'm feeling the vibrations and things were coming up and I was crying and I was like, what the hell? Really? Like you got that? Like I was like, oh my God. I'm like, she actually she nailed it. And now you're making me insecure. Like now I'm like, I totally failed this class. Like I totally. And then so she's like having this whole like out of body experience. She's like healing. She's like doing all the work.
This is like stand-up comedy.
No, I'm keeping it real. And I know the women listening are going to be like, thank you, Dana. Like, oh my God. Because this is what happens to me all the time. And so then you looked at, then you're like, anybody else want to share? And you like looked at me and I was like, Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I was thinking about, like, I gotta get home. The kids are probably like burning the house down. Like, the dog needs to go out. Oh my God, I have like so much work. Should I make a devotion video? Like, oh my God, we haven't done loaves yet. Like, we haven't done that. You know, it's like I'm now, my brain, and I keep trying to push the things out. And I'm like freaking out that I'm wasting my class time, not being able to just enjoy, you know? And meanwhile, I came here to relax and enjoy. And I'll be honest, I do hot yoga and I do the same thing in hot yoga. And I'm like, you know, I'm trying to like enjoy the moment, and they keep telling me these things about, you know, leaving it at the door and all this stuff. And I'm like, no, I brought everything in with me. Like, I just, the whole cart came in. Like, I brought the whole circus. And at the end of class, another woman came up to me and she said, oh my God, I'm so glad you said that, because I was the same struggle. And she was like, I'm, you know, she's like, look, I don't have kids, but like I have a very high pressure job, and everyone is always like saying to me, like, you've got to find something to relax. You've got to find, and she's like, I couldn't stop thinking about my work. And she's like, even though this is a Saturday, I couldn't disconnect. And she's like, finally, when you said something, she's like, oh, thank God I'm not crazy, because I was laying there with my head, and I kept having to try to come back and listen to what was happening, and I wasn't feeling anything yet with the music, and I thought, like, am I missing the point, and why am I a failure? So, you know, that was like really, so when I said that to her, I was like, you know what, like, okay, I bet a lot of women feel the same way, especially in this wild world that we're living in right now. When do
Sounds
we?
like you're all broken.
It sounds like all of us are like, just, you know, and then the thing is because of the pace of life, to come into an energy healing class like yours, it's like you're walking through the door and like we want like this light to switch. We want to just be like, crazy, crazy, crazy. I'm in my car. I'm on my phone. I'm doing this. Oh, I'll call you back, honey. I'm about to walk into a class. And then you walk in and you're like, okay, I'm just here to heal. And then it's like, really? Like you can do that? That's amazing. Is it a process? Like, so everything that I'm saying, is it crazy or is it not crazy?
No, I went through it myself. I mean, let me just tell you a quick story about myself before I even went down my own healing journey, my own spiritual path. I would say maybe 5-7 years ago, I'd take a trip with my best friend. We take a girls' RV trip and we go to Sedona. And this is before I started doing the work and meditating. I couldn't sit still for 1 minute. I just couldn't. It was like the thoughts of everything, of life, of challenges, whatever was coming up. So we go and all three of the women, my best friend and her two friends that she invited to go in this RV. And supposedly this area is like very spiritual. The land is sacred. You know, just to me, it was just words. I didn't understand any of it. And we go to this place called the Vortex, where the energy is so intense. And I'll never forget this moment. So I just want you to know it's like relatable, right? Because I went through it myself. And they step out of the RV and two of the women are like, oh my God, do you feel this energy? Like it's so powerful. Like it's like they have their hands up. They're like, you know, like I'm like, what? Like what are they feeling? You know, like so then I put my hands up, you know, like I figured if I do what they do, you know, maybe I'll feel the energy. So I'm like, you know, it's the most powerful place and it's the Vortex and I have my hands up. I'm like, I don't feel anything. So then we start walking and you know, one of the women finds a tree and I guess it's like a spiritual tree and she is laying on this tree, hugging the tree. Her head is resting on this tree. So it looks like she's caressing the tree in a sense. And I was like, oh, is this how I'm supposed to feel this energy thing, right? So I go and I find a tree.
Are you caressing the tree now?
I'm trying to hug the tree. I'm trying to talk to the tree.
A literal tree hugger.
Like I'm literally trying to feel this. I'm like, tree. Like, okay, I'm here. What am I supposed to feel? I felt nothing, like nothing. And it's amazing.
I felt foolish.
I was laughing at myself. I was like,
I'm feeling up a tree.
I was petting the tree. And to this day, I laugh about how this all started, me, you know, caressing a tree and hugging the tree and you know, patting it. And then we go to the top and everybody's meditating. And again, you know, they're sitting, you know, with their legs crossed and their hands open on their knees and like they're in this whole namaste zone and I'm doing it just for the pictures at this point. I'm like, okay, take a picture real quick of me doing this. You know, like I want to like have a good picture.
Do it for the gram.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, but I remember they're in a deep meditation. I mean, they were in it and I was just peeking to see, okay, they're done yet? Like,
Yeah.
when are we leaving? Like things like that. So it's normal. The process, there is no right way. There is no right time. It's whenever it's your time and however long it takes
Right.
is what it's going to take. You come with a different baggage than I have. We all have different histories. We all have different things that we're carrying with us, whether it's with this lifetime, previous lifetimes, could be ancestral, inherited stuff that we're carrying along. We just don't know. And it takes layers upon layers upon layers of releasing this, and it doesn't happen in a miracle of sitting in one energy healing session, whether it's a sound healing or whatever. But I will tell you this, stuff was happening for you, whether your mind was going somewhere else or not, because you're being affected by the energy, by the frequencies in that particular modality. So whether you're acknowledging it or not, you sat through it and you already did something different than you've ever done before. Right. And that's already making progress. So all it takes is taking one step and being consistent with it, whether it's 1 minute a day. I think we might have even spoken about that, right? Just coming back to your senses, practicing maybe just 1 minute of slow your breath down for a 4-second count in through your nose. Hold it at the top for 4 seconds.
Which breath work really, at first I was like, breath work, what does that even mean? But there have been times when I will feel like real fired up, and like I will just like do the breath work and I'll just calm myself down and I can just feel my whole body just like, okay, Dana, calm down, like everything releasing, like my shoulders, because when I get real tense and I'm fired up and everything's tight and tense, and then that breath work, it just like, it even slows down your heart rate. It just gets you back to where you're like, okay, like I need to think with a clear head. It just relaxes everything and it's so easy. You can do it anywhere and everywhere. And it seems so silly to be like breath work, like everyone breathes, but it is really like the way that you're doing it that like somehow like just your whole body.
It's conscious breathing.
Right. Okay.
It's really mindful breathing because, we breathe when we're working out, we're inhaling. But like, even if you ran a mile and you're out of breath, you can then focus on your breath to slow down your breath, right? Okay. Deep inhales and slow it down. And then you could get your heart rate to drop back down even after a hard workout. So it all comes down to mindful breath.
Yes.
In anything that you do. And you can feel your heart rate slow down and your body begins to relax. Exactly
Absolutely.
What you said.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So you live a very busy lifestyle. You're an entrepreneur. You're on the hustle. You're on the grind. You're beautiful. I've been following you. So I see your transformation of just everything of your life. What inspired you to even try something so different that you've never done before, that you really knew nothing about?
Well, anytime in my life I start to feel uncomfortable, I'm not afraid to try. I started that first week of school made me feel uncomfortable. And I think maybe every mother can relate to that especially if you're like working full time and you're juggling a new schedule. All 3 of my kids started new schools, totally new schedule. High school, we've got my girls are in another school and they're taking a bus to another place, and then where's the drop off and the whole thing, and then my schedule with my work and the house and the everything, and that whole week just felt like then I also felt like I was constantly pivoting. Like every time I turn around, it's like, okay, we got the girls to school, and then Bijou calls and she's crying and she's got an ear infection, and then I plan this, and then we really have to go to the doctor, and then we have to pick up this, and then, Bodhi forgot that, we didn't get his, and it's like every time and I'm driving to the office and then something else happens at home and I'm like, oh my God. And I felt just run down after that week. It was just a week, like a blur. And I was like, Dana, you can't have this every week, or it's gonna be like, I'm gonna drop. I can't keep up with this pace. So when it was almost like so weird that she sent me over that invite to your class,
Divine timing.
And yes, and it was like I usually when somebody sends me something, I'm like, oh God, what now? And it's like I look at it and I'm like, oh, do I want to sign myself up for another thing? Because it's like I've been trying to say no to things because it's like, okay, I need another thing on a Saturday. No, Saturday I need to be doing my laundry. I need to be getting caught up. But like for some reason she shot it over. I looked at it and I was like, yes. And I just said yes. I typed it her, but no, I typed it right back to her and I went, sure. And she went, really? Okay. And I was like, there was something that I said, Dana, like, I've got to like pivot, but in like a relaxing, because chances are if she had sent me like, oh, do you want to do this boot camp, whatever? Like maybe I would have said yes, but like it was really the last thing I needed on my plate. I don't need to do another crazy workout, tear my body down. I needed to do something in the other direction, really. So I said yes, and I love the word healing in it, the whole, like the fact that there was a picture of a sound bowl on it. Like it sounded like what I needed, and I was open. Like I was open to change. I wasn't like where some people are like, don't get in my way and I got this and I got this. Look, no, I am like happy for help. When people reach out and say like, I have it, whatever, I'm like, sure. Yeah. Like, sure. Like I'm not here trying to, is there an award at the end of this? Like, I don't think so. Like, I think we're all just trying to get through life, as well as we can, feeling as good as we can, surviving. Nobody is handing anybody a medal at the end. It's not like we're going for first place, so that's why I was open to trying this. And I am open to things that will balance. You use the word balance my life. I need that.
Right.
It can't all be hustle, 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 hustle. And then by the end of the day, I mean, I drop, I'm exhausted, my body hurts physically and mentally.
Yeah. And that's what happens, when we're not in a state of balance. That's what happens. In one way or another, something's going to get expressed. So if we're suppressing things, whether it's stress, anxiety, or any type of emotion, really, like it could be something that happened as a child. At some point in time, whatever you're suppressing is going to get expressed in one way or another. And it's usually not in a good way.
Right.
It's whether we're taking it out on somebody that we love, or we're reacting to a situation, or we're impulsive, or we have addictions, and we're doing it in different formats because some way or the other, it's going to get expressed. So when you're working and doing this type of work, you're facing your shadows in one sense. There was a woman there. I don't know if you remember, she spoke and she was saying, I was starting to see some dark things and I didn't want to see it. So I shut it off. And my response to her is, maybe that's your subconscious bringing it to your awareness that this is something that you need to work through, that you need to face, because there's only so much you can run from your shadow.
Yeah.
You got to do the work.
Yep.
You have to have courage to do this work. And I mean, sound healing is relaxing on a superficial level, but it does do deep work along with other types of energy modalities. And the whole idea is, if you have the courage to face your own darkness, to face your own shadows, then you can go ahead and do the work, and then process it and then release it permanently. Right. That's
I believe that, because that's even with doing therapy, with doing like certain things, like bringing things to the surface. If they come to the surface and you talk about it and you deal with it, and then you're able to wipe it away, it's like it sometimes becomes like it's like a non-issue. You didn't push it down and push it down and push it down. You don't talk about it. You don't, I've had it where it's like I finally just talk about all my stuff and I put it all out there, and and I've had to do, like, I've done plenty of therapy in my life, and then the stuff that used to bother me doesn't bother me because it's surfaced. I dealt with it, and I put it aside, and I'm like, okay. I mean, look, some people just keep beating a dead horse, and it's like, okay, how long can you keep going back to that same thing? I mean, you have to deal with it, and it doesn't mean it didn't affect you, change you, all of those things. But if we want to keep moving forward in a positive way, you also have to then put it in its place and say, this isn't defining who I am. It's not going to dictate the rest of my life. Something horrible happens to you, you're just going to, for the rest of your life, you're just going to live. That's the story you're going to live for the rest of your life. I mean, it's your life. So if anybody who's listening to this, it's like, yeah, you have the opportunity. If you don't want to keep, staying with that same story, you can deal with it and know that it's not going to, it isn't going to go away or change the fact it happened, but it doesn't have to change the rest of your life.
And it doesn't happen in one session.
No.
So the expectations for people who have never done any type of energy healing or have never attended a sound bath, there's no miracle. It's energy healing, but it takes action along with energy. So, you're getting balance and all those things. But if you're not going to put the work in afterwards, it's just going to keep throwing you off balance. Right. So you got to make the changes on the outside first, in addition to the work that you're doing on the inside.
Right.
So when you say work, how much work are you talking about, and what is it?
It's really, facing that shadow, the dark versions of yourself, or the past that you didn't want to deal with. Maybe it's a childhood trauma. Maybe it's, it could be really anything. So that is work. It's hard work. It takes courage, and it it's not the easiest path, but I could tell you just from my personal experience that once I stopped fearing the work, stopped fearing what I was going to face. And I just dealt with it. And I went through the process. And sometimes it took a couple days. Sometimes it took a month. But once you get to the other side, it's like taking 1,000,000 pounds off of you.
So an example for people who are like, okay, so what does that really mean? Okay, so say somebody had an abusive parent growing up, and that is their thing, that they grew up with abuse. And is it that they need to then speak about that? Like, what is that part of the work? Is that, if that's
not necessarily, no.
Okay, so what is how do you work on it? What does that even mean? Like, for people who are, because right now, if you said, okay, Dana, work on your demon. I'm like, I don't know. I have any. Do I have any? Maybe I don't even know.
Yeah.
How do I even know what they are? Maybe there is something bothering me, but I don't even know.
Silence goes a long way. Sitting with yourself. I mean,
Okay.
I find it uncomfortable.
Like meditation?
Yeah, but even like, you don't have to go through a deep meditation, but the uncomfortable, like, it's uncomfortable if you've never sat with your own thoughts in silence. It's uncomfortable. You ever have somebody stare directly into your eyes for a long period of time? And you're like, why are they staring into my soul right now? Like, what, this is a little creepy.
Right.
It's because, it's uncomfortable because someone is seeing something in you maybe that you're not willing to see in yourself yet.
So do you think it happens after, so say if I was going to the sound bowl sessions, and do you think eventually these things, it's like with each session, with each practice, because I know I do hot yoga, so with each time that I go, I get better, and I can go deeper, not only in my mental, not only my physical, but like even mentally, I can kind of like, unplug and get into my mental harder. Is that what gets somebody there? Meaning like doing the work of like showing up
and being consistent, whether
Okay.
it's 5 minutes a day in the morning, 5 minutes in the afternoon, and 5 minutes in the evening. It's doing something on a daily basis.
Okay.
And it takes, just like with working out, just like with doing anything else, you're not going to be in your best shape by doing it once a week, are you? No, it's going to be
Right.
consistent.
Or one time.
Or,
Yeah.
you stop drinking Coke and you expect to lose all this weight. It's been 3 days since you stopped drinking Coke. It's a muscle. You're creating new neural pathways.
So you're saying daily for a short amount of time, so then it's something you do on your own at home.
Yeah.
Like even with the breath work, I was doing things when I was in a really stressful time in my life. A cousin of mine believes in the breath work, and she teaches it, and she does all that. And I was like, I don't know. And she worked with me just for like a little bit while she was on a visit, and she gave me a few different things to do. And so like I would take a bath because I'd be really stressed out, and I would and then I would put on her breathwork video she made for me, and it was like only 4 minutes, and I was trying to do it when I woke up and then like at the end of the day, and the more I was doing it and the more I was getting it, the more then I didn't even need her videos anymore, and then I could even just like sit at my desk at work, and if I felt really overwhelmed and stressed, like I would just do the 4 minutes of breathing, or sometimes it would just be 2 minutes, and I'm like, oh my God, like it really, but you have to keep doing it and making a part of your life and your lifestyle.
But you have to learn how to do it too,
Right.
You need some type of coaching, because you can't just.
Well, that's what she had done for me. So
Right.
she just like as a gift, being my cousin, she's like, I'm going to make you a couple videos.
Perfect.
You're going to have it in your WhatsApp. Pull it up anytime that you're feeling stressed. I just want you to do this.
You can use that too.
Yeah.
I mean, you can use that too. Those videos, it really just starts somewhere, and then you'll start to realize that once you open up, the mind is so powerful. So if you don't believe in this stuff, if you don't believe in energy healing, if you don't believe in harmony and balance, then you're going to block every energetic force that's going to come your way that's in the best of your interest. Everything is energy. Everything is energy, and anything can cause anything. So if your mind is like, my mom would, used to say, oh, it's BS, all this energy stuff, when I went down this path. And then all of a sudden, when she started getting better, when I was working on her, she didn't say it was BS anymore. She was like, okay, maybe there's something to this.
Well, because I can actually feel myself, my body, the way that I approach life, the way that I approach even when I go into my hot yoga and I use that as kind of like a meditation time for myself, and they say, set your intentions. Every single time I say, I need to be calmer. I just need to be calm at home. And every time I say, like, my intention is to just this week be very present and calm, my household has gotten calmer and calmer. I'm not a screaming maniac mom like I used to be. I do leave there feeling like I have put in more work into my subconscious of like, that is what my intention is, and that's what I'm going to do, and that's the person that I want to be.
Yeah.
And it's just, and I'm talking myself into like, this is who I am. This is who I'm not. If I keep saying, well, I'm just a screaming lunatic and I'm just a mom that screams and I'm just a maniac. No, like then
You've
I'm going to
created
keep,
that
I've
for
created
yourself.
that.
Yeah, of course.
But if I keep doing my yoga and in every breath, and I'm like, okay, I'm calm, and I like imagine this like anxiety energy like leaving my body, just like get it out. It's like you become it. You become what you think. Your mind is a powerful thing.
By the way, visuals are so powerful. Your imagination can take you to places you can't imagine. So,
and that too.
Yeah.
I always envisioned what I wanted to. Yeah.
The words we speak, even the words we think, even though it's not coming out of our mouths, that affects us.
Yeah.
You know, it's you're creating your own reality by what you're saying. So even being aware, like doing some of the work of too is awareness, right? Being aware of your own thoughts. We've had so many thoughts and we just brush them off. We don't even know the thoughts that that are occurring because it's like over and over and over again.
Right.
But when you slow down and you start to put awareness on your thought, and maybe it's something negative, like, oh man, I'm not feeling so hot. I don't look so great. I need to get my hair done, or, like I'm not, whatever it is, or I have no money. I'm broke. Whatever you're saying, you're creating.
Yeah.
So what I've learned with working with different people, different mentors, different spiritual coaches, is that the moment you have awareness is the first step. So, as an entrepreneur, as a woman in particular, right? Because that's the topic, is how do we create more balance? Because we've taken on so many different roles that, weren't really that we weren't really created for, but we're stepping into that modern day woman. So how do we create balance into that? But awareness is the first step. Yeah. So now that thought of, I lack, I have no money, I'm broke, my job sucks, counteract it in that exact moment with a complete opposite statement. I am so grateful that I have so much abundance in my life. I'm living my best life. Money flows to me with ease. So it becomes a practice. So at first you have all these negative thoughts, especially if you're just, that's your state of being, you're unbalanced and you're constantly thinking negatively, in a negative way. So it's going to be like, it's the heavier of your forefront of your thoughts, but then you're starting to bring the awareness, and now you're going to start adding in the complete opposite statement. And little by little, it's going to start to balance out, where now it's 50-50, 50% of your thoughts are negative, 50% are positive. But you're going to keep going because it takes consistency. It's the muscle. You're retraining your muscle to behave in a different way. You're retraining your brain to think differently. The next thing you know, now it's the positive thoughts that are at the forefront. And you still might have a little bit of those negative thoughts that are just lingering.
Right.
But it's just like with anything else. You just keep counteracting it and the awareness is the key to everything. Awareness in your breath. Why do we call it mindful breathing? Because once you start paying attention, you can listen. I remember when I first started yoga, and the yoga instructor was like, okay, listen to your breath. And I didn't know what that meant. I was like, what does that mean? How do you, well,
that's the thing. A lot of
how
the
do you
terms
listen
for
to your
people
breath?
It's like they say these things and I'm like, what are you talking about?
Are you supposed to just naturally know what that means?
Right.
I have no idea. How do you listen?
Yeah.
Like, what are you supposed to do? Like,
I don't breathe that loudly. Yeah.
But I didn't understand what it meant to listen to your breath. But it's really just putting awareness to your breath, because, you're bringing it back to you.
Right.
Instead of the exterior. Right. So that's the whole purpose of being mindful about what your thoughts are, what you're saying, what you're thinking, and, just a day to day. And it becomes, better and better each time you're doing it. So every time you're doing an energy healing, every time you go to a sound healer, anytime you do any type of work, it's going to get better and it's going to become easier. The first time sitting in meditation, it was torture for me. Sitting for a minute was torture. I'm like, oh my God, how long has it been? It's been 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And I feel like, oh my God, I have so many things to do.
Yes.
And I've had friends be like, okay, try this 5-minute meditation. This should be, it's more active. It's like guiding you. And I would literally think I was a champion because I could sit through a 5-minute meditation. Yes, I accomplished a 5-minute meditation. Yeah, it was like a miracle. And a friend of mine, she introduced me to Dr. Joe Dispenza. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he teaches meditations. And it took me probably three years of trying to sit with his meditations. It was really challenging for me. I just couldn't understand it. And then an opportunity came where I signed up for one of his week-long retreats, and the requirement was that you had to take his course. And he teaches the science behind meditation, what it actually does to the brain. And it was really interesting to know that it wasn't just, like crazy talk. It was backed up by science. And so I'm taking his course, and now I'm doing the meditations, and something just clicks. It happens when it happens, right? So I did 3 years of trying to meditate for more than 5 minutes, and I couldn't get through. It was torture. Next thing I know, I just sat through an hour meditation, and I never even looked at how long this meditation was. I just pressed play and I went. And then when it finished, I looked and it was like an hour and 3 minutes, something like that. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. I just did an hour meditation, and I felt like I was on top of the world because it just took consistency over and over. I just never gave up. I just never gave up. I just kept going and going.
And you know what? Like you said, it's like anything. I mean, the brain is like a muscle, because you're saying that, and like I'll hear there are people who get excited. Kelly, who's always on our podcast too, she'll text me, I did 8 minutes on the stair climber, and I'm like, okay. And she thinks that's such an accomplishment, because I could do an hour on the stair climber, but yet. Yeah, you got to build up to it. Like Kelly could do an hour too eventually if she just sticks to it, and then she's going to do 10 minutes, and then she's going to do 15, and then 30, and then it's like your mind is the same way. I feel like you just have to put in the work, like you said, show up for yourself, and it took you 3 years to do that. I mean,
maybe longer.
And we can't all get upset. Like if I show up to this class that I couldn't, disconnect for the hour. It's the first time I ever did it. So I mean,
and let's be real. Take your age. It took you how many years of living here to build up to who you are today?
A lot of years.
How do we expect that all those challenges that we face, and all those traumas, and all those emotions that we're suppressing, and all the things the chaos that we've created or have happened, for us? I never believe that things happen to us. I believe they happen for us.
Sure.
But how do we expect 40 something years of who we are to just be healed over, a 1 hour session? It took that long to get that dis-ease, that took that long to build up to whatever you're experiencing physically in your body. Like if you're feeling a knee pain or arthritis or whatever it is, well, it didn't happen overnight. There was a process of how you got to that point where you've created this dis-ease or this illness or these discomforts in your body.
Well, everyone wants that, especially in today's society, immediate gratification. Yeah. I mean, we're like all now are like, used to, you place an order, Amazon has it to you by 3:00. So it's like everybody wants, everything to happen. I mean, even, with the weight loss community or whatever, it's like everybody, if you're on this weight loss journey, you want it now. Just because you decided you want to lose 10 pounds. Oh, it should happen like that? No, it's not going to happen like that. Same thing, you're going to have to put in a lot of sessions and a lot of days and a lot of work. Why do we think our mind is any different? Yeah. I mean, it makes sense.
You touched upon something about, I wanted to go back to Dr. Joe Dispenza because he talks about anchors. When we look at, you were saying somebody's beating the dead horse, right? Just over and over again, repeating. They've attached their emotions so strongly to that story.
Right.
That they can't disassociate with them, with that story. And that's who they've become. And many times, Dr. Joe Dispenza will talk about how that story has evolved over the years, and it's not even the original story. It's just been, recreated over and over and over again. And they believe that story so much that it's part of who they are now.
Right.
So maybe it was a traumatic divorce from 20 years ago, and they, maybe the spouse cheated, and now you've created the story that you're no longer who you are meant to be, but you're that ex-spouse that was cheated on. You're the victim.
Right.
So learning through meditation, going through all these different processes and removing those layers and getting in a more balanced state, you can learn how to be the observer of your thoughts, where you can see that event happened, but you're no longer emotionally attached to that event. And so now what do you get from that? You get wisdom, because now you're not emotionally tied back and it's not anchoring you backwards. And now you could step forward and move forward.
Right.
But if you're constantly thinking about the past and how you felt and how, this person treated you and all these things that went wrong, you're emotionally attached to that history. How can you move forward when you're constantly talking about the past? So it's learning that process. It's a process. This whole journey is a process. I don't care if you have been doing this work for 30 years, 40 years, the majority of your life, it never ends.
Right.
You're constantly healing yourself.
Until
Constantly.
it's done. It's never done.
It's never done.
Never done.
Oh, yeah, until it's
It
done.
always comes back until it's done.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
How long are you going to do this work for? Until it's done.
Exactly.
It's never done.
Yeah.
I'm devoted to my work. Yeah. It's the, it's interesting. Cause so, you know what? So often, especially, with my platform, is a lot about, like you said, my transformation, the fitness, the whole thing. But it's like the Facebook page I started like years ago before there was Instagram, whatever. I called it. It was the tagline. I think it was like strong minds making hard bodies, because I believed that my fitness started in my mind. I was like, it's mental. It's mental. Our mind really tells us what we're capable of. And sometimes I would put out, like Mom always knows, I would put out these like things and saying that I was going to do something. And it would maybe it would sound outrageous. Like after I had my twins and I was like 210 pounds and my body was a wreck. And I'm like, I'm going to be in the best shape of my life by next year. And I'm going to step on stage and I'm going to do it. And I would like declare all this stuff in my mind. I believed it. I lived it. I saw it. I wanted it. I was like, I will do whatever it takes. I like saw myself making the transformation. It was like I was a woman on a mission, but I knew it was my head that was going to keep me in the game. It wasn't, my body was going to do whatever my mind told me I was going to do whatever my mind said I could do. Yeah. So my mind had to stay strong through that whole journey.
And your belief system was so powerful also.
Yes. And I believed in myself and I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. And so many things that I do, like even with launching my brand or whatever, it's just you believe in it and you're like, I'm going for it and this is what it's going to be. And you just, and then when the doubts come in, the doubts are going to come in. How many times have we had conversations where I'm doubting it, is this going to make it and are we going to do it? But then all of a sudden it's like I get my shit together and it's like, okay. And it's like I wipe it away and we're back in the game. Let's go. Let's, because you are going to be thrown some wrenches and the little weaknesses are going to pop up now and then. And it's like that your mind is going to do whatever your everything else will follow. But if your mind believes and you stay positive, like you said, with those positive affirmations and the thoughts, and you're reaffirming it every day, it's like they say with even motivation and discipline and all that. It's like it doesn't stick around. It's like you have to. There's a funny meme. It was years ago about. It's just like showering. It's like it won't, you have to do it every day. It's not gonna, the effects are not gonna last. Just because you have motivation one day, it's like you're gonna have to do it again tomorrow, and you're gonna have to reaffirm tomorrow, and you're gonna have to reaffirm tomorrow until it's just who you are. It's what you believe. And that's it. That's what your mind knows, saying it every day. Every day. And then doing the practices, like you said, every day, working on your physical.
Isn't that a type of person who's not a quitter? You've never been a quitter.
Yeah. Or somebody who has
Dana, you were driven always.
Yeah.
To not quit.
Not quit. I remember you were young and you went to a roller skating party. And everybody could roller skate except for you, hanging onto the side.
Yeah.
And you came home and took out your little roller skates and roller skated in the driveway and fell and got back up, and you did it until you were great.
Yeah. Well, I wanted, because I had a vision that the next birthday party I was invited to, I wanted to be whizzing around the roller rink.
You went backwards. You did everything. But you've tackled everything that way. That's part of the person that you are.
But it doesn't say that somebody who's not, that doesn't have that natural drive or that aggressive drive can't be that way
No,
either.
they can be.
It's just a training,
Exactly.
Yeah, it just takes a practice and, just.
Because I always
have things
believe
about
that
myself that weren't really me, but I made them me.
Well, because we always said, if we say, well, if somebody else can do it, why can't it be us?
Yep.
That's what we've always said. So I'm like, it's like to rather to look, well, she did it, she whatever. It's like I was like, okay, if she can do it, I'll do it. It's like, what makes her any more special than me?
Yeah.
So why can't I just set my mind to being a great roller skater?
Yeah.
I mean, I tell my kids that all the time because they'll say, I'm not good at it. I'm not good at it. You're not good at it because you don't do it. You don't practice. You're not making it your mission. You're not getting out there every day. If you wanted to be an excellent roller skater or rollerblader.
No excuses.
Yeah. You get out
and
there
that's
and
the
do
same.
it.
But that's the same thing with creating balance in our life, because we can think and believe, because many people do, that there's certain things that take more of a priority. But our mental health and our everything that's going on the inside, that should be the priority. Everything else will come with flow once you're in a good place yourself. Because if you ever look at somebody from the outside, they have a beautiful car, a beautiful body, a beautiful family, and they seem to have everything.
Sure.
But on the inside, they are like crumbling.
Yeah.
And you hear story after story about, people who seem to have it all committing suicide or going through depression or going through addictions. Because when we're looking for the outside to please us and to give us satisfaction, we're not really doing the work on the inside.
Yep.
We're creating, we have chaos happening in our bodies. It's not going to go away unless you're willing to face it and do the work, the shadow work, the hard work, the courageous work. So it doesn't really matter. That's why it's so important that whatever you think is a priority, make yourself a priority, even if it's only a couple minutes a day.
Yeah.
We're worthy.
Yep.
I am worthy of that. You are worthy of that. A couple of minutes, come on, that's not a big deal.
A couple of minutes goes a long way.
A couple of minutes can go a very long way. I mean, we're all worthy, and I think when we finally look in the mirror and we say, "I'm worthy of giving love to myself," then things start to change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, gosh, this conversation has been amazing. The next time, because we're going to do another episode together, because we didn't even get to touch on, I want to talk about the feminine energy and the masculine feminine energy and that whole thing, because I think that this now also women can relate to. You and I had this conversation about staying in your feminine energy and all those things and going in with relationships. And then that was something that Mom and we've spoken about. And how do you stay in that when, if your relationship then does that throw out your relationship out of balance? So that's going to be a whole nother episode. And I hope that you guys tune in to listen to that one too. I hope this one helped a lot of people, and hopefully you can, look, I know if you're not can people work with you even if they're not local? Oh,
100%.
okay.
Energy. Yeah. With energy, you can, I work with people from all over the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you'll find, tell them your handle just in case. And then it's also going to be in the notes from the show, but on Instagram.
On Instagram, it's heal_within you.
Heal with, okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
And, and so, you guys, if you find that this is up your alley, hopefully you'll reach out or, find someone who does energy healing or whatever. And I know I'm going to continue to give it a shot and keep going because it's very intriguing to me. But, all right. Well, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, today was fun.
Yeah,
This
that
was
was
great. All right. Well,
you.
thank you for joining us, everybody. And we'll see you next time on Until It's Done, a devoted podcast.